and we are up. What's happening, cuz?
What's happening? I'm on the you know when you get, have you ever had the flu? I always used to say I don't get sick, but every once in a while these disease carrying children of mine will bring something home and I'll get it.
Son of bastards.
Yeah. And so I'm on the the day that you feel like you're like maybe 65 or 70% of back, you know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, I'm back. I can do shit again. Well, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So
yeah. And then you hit that wall about 3:30 and you're like,
yeah. I'll take 3 naps probably today, but but I feel like I can almost do some shit. I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah. You're like, oh man, it was good while it lasted.
yeah. I did already hit that wall once, man. I was like going hard. I was like, yeah, knocking stuff out. Then I was like, oh boy, man, I sure am tired. This is hard work. Just being active.
You got that. You got that battery. You got the battery life. It's going to expire. You're going to have to get to a certain point.
Well, that's why I got the PEMF mat over here, right next to my, in my office. I just lay on that, do a little recharge, go back to work.
Little grounding mat. I love that. Oh man, what's good, everybody? Man, thank you guys tuning in. Another episode of One Big Fire Live. Got cousin myself in the house. We've got our little our other partner in crime is out doing his thing. Don't tell him where he's at. He's out in nature.
He's probably up on the mountain somewhere.
Yes. He is intentionally grew the beard just to be able to
Grizzly Adams
and to just kind of fit into the scene out there. So good for him. I'm glad he's been able to get away and been able to go through that process. And I think just my outlet has always been running, right? So being able to get that time away to recharge. And man, I know, for me over the last couple of months, just kind of throttled off a little bit just to kind of wait and see kind of what's going to happen coming into the year. We did not make the Badwater qualifications. So I had to stomp my feet for about 23 seconds. And then it was like, okay, game on. And, default it back to, okay, good. Right now I get an extra year to train again. I get to do a couple more races. I get to do a little more experience. I get to go and then I can apply and go again. And I think that, it's just always been a great lesson. And we all default. And I know we've had a couple conversations or even through here with One Big Fire, kind of on the mental side of things and real hard right now when there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot of unknown. I know one of the things that I want to get into, just take your perspective. Had a few clients that had some builder people that were working on projects that sent out a notification over the weekend saying, hey, we're going to increase our prices because of this. So I definitely want to get your take on kind of the change in what Trump's bringing in. What are we going to do with housing prices, insurance prices, kind of where things that are really affecting, home ownership, as I know you're doing a lot on the investment side, being able to see kind of a broader scope and being able to tap into resources that most people can't tap into. So I want to pick your brain there. But, as we navigate into the new year with a little bit of uncertainty, I mean, from a mindset perspective, I know you're having a lot of conversations. I know there's a specific, focus and intent having, directing people where to direct their mind. We know mindset is always the number one thing. But for you, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? Kind of the certainty heading here into the new year.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, to be honest, man, I'll be honest. I have not been this excited since we first joined EXP. And a lot of that has to do with, I'm a little bit privy to some things that are about to happen. So I've got some insider intel, but where I feel like we're at, as far as EXP goes, and I'll just tell the story, man, like what I've been doing. So, it's 4 years I've, lived on an island, and, when people say, man, I feel like I'm on an island, that's what it feels like. So you're on an island. And so, the cool thing about, the great relationships, people that I've met, incredible business owners and entrepreneurs. And, you go play golf with them and, you get to meet all these people over all this time. And they're all doing some something crazy. They're all a little bit crazy because they moved to this island, number one. And they all did something significant. Like you can't afford to be there if you didn't. And so So fascinating. And we all, I always, when people are like, it's time to tell you what well, what do you do? Right. And so like, well, let me explain to you what we did. And so, I tell them about, EXP and the revenue share and this, that, and the other. And every time all these really intelligent, super successful people, they instantly get the model and they instantly are like, dude, y'all hit the lottery. That's because, they've got employees and, they're I know at a small level from NAEA days, what you have to do to build something significant. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
Sure.
So they have this awareness of what we're doing and what they're doing. And like, they're still, in meetings every day, managing, leading people, or they've maybe made an exit, but they remember what it took to get there. And so they all just geek out about our model. And it was, it's not that I'm looking for something else, but it's like, what's the next move? What's the next move? I'm always trying to figure out like, all right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, I'm not going to sit on the beach. Right. And so the whole last year, really year and a half was like, all right, there's certainly, money and investing and things that, moves that you can make, and made a lot of great, I think, moves down there because of the people that we met in terms of that. But like, there's just no opportunity on the planet like revenue share. There's just nothing like it. And, 95% margin, the last 3 years, it paid us, over 30 million in revenue share, and 95% of that came to the bottom line. They're just not, there's no other business. There's no real investment. There's nothing you can really do that's going to do anything like this. And so, we're the, the number one mover advantage is EXP. We've got a little bit of competition that stirred things up a little bit kind of early on the last year. But we're just in a position right now to really go to the next level. And I talk to agents all day, every day. Like, my calendar's fucking full. So always talking to agents. And as I got to this place where I was like, man, I could probably improve upon our value proposition and make this, more scalable, the things that we do for agents, like kind of like what we did with Partner. Mm-hmm. And but it's gonna require me to sign up for something that I've been saying no to for a long time. And so I had to really think about this. And so I'm like, okay, it's gonna take some employees, and I'm gonna have to manage some people, but I can do it at scale, man. Could I take this organization? Could I double it? And so I started asking that question. Well, how would I do it if I was going to do it? And what am I willing to commit to? Right? Pretty good life. Not gonna lie, it's not bad, right?
Sure.
I kind of can say yes or no to, and I've been saying no to everything. Like, and then a good friend of mine, Ryan Finch, whose wife Chantel joined EXP, hung out with him. Kind of brought both of them in on an apartment deal. And dude, he's just like, he's got franchises all over, and he's doing 100 different things, and he's making my head spin. And I'm like, man, dude, like, stop for a second. Like, I mean, if you remember, I know you'll remember this, and I have it highlight. I have it somewhere. Like, I keep like some of the best little documents and downloads that I get, along the way. And I had this highlighted in green. And I remember it was, I'll find it because I know I have it somewhere. And it's like into a stack of like just a handful of things that I go back and read every once in a while. But he talked about like when you've got a bunch of different revenue streams, and looking at that bottom 5% of what things you spend your time on, and not doing those things, and like always keep the main thing. And it just kind of resurrected me a little bit in terms of like, man, there, I could go do a little bit of this, and maybe there's a title opportunity here, and there's a this, and there's that, and there's all these things. And I've been saying no to everything for the last forever, 5 years. Because I always ask what's the secondary impact of that. And I know most of the time that involves more time, more people, more meetings, more everything. And so just looking at where's the most leverage, and what's the right thing to focus on. Well, it's not like it's glaringly obvious or anything, but goddamn, I mean, revenue share is amazing. Like, and we just quit talking about it. And the last, we launched right before the end of the year, an initiative that I hate to even talk about publicly, because when people really find out what we're doing, the doors are going to be getting beat down. But essentially what works, what I know is that when you add the most value to one person's life in terms of their real estate business, like if I take one agent and I say, I'm going to personally put my team together, and I'm going to personally help you with every step of how you get your production up, just like we used to with coaching and like we did with Partner. We just did it all for them. Yeah. It was the implementation that made it all work. We not only know the right strategies, but when we help you implement it, it gets infinitely easier, right? Most agents that I talk to, if I said, hey, I got a willing buyer or willing seller, they know how to execute from there. And so, and then but the challenge is, man, I got to build this thing, that thing. How do I run the ad? What's, all these things that you have to learn. You can watch a million videos, you're still going to mess it up. And so I said, well, what if we did everything for them? What if we just did it all? And, I kind of, inherited, the NAEA business unit, right. And I've got all these resources that I'm like, if we could just all get into alignment here, I'm like, this is going to be expensive, but what if I could double the organization? And how do I do that? Well, I just help, I got to find 10 to 15 people that I can double and then help them find, 3 to 5 each and help them double. And I point my resources and energy and effort into the people I know that will execute and that will double. Then that's how you double an organization. It's how we did it in the first place. So it's not new, but it was going to require, a better offer, right? So it's not just, hey, come partner with us at EXP. It's, hey, let me show you how we're going to help you double your business, and my team that's going to help you implement everything so that you can do it. And so we rolled that out, and we're in the first few weeks of it, but I know what it is on the back end. So I've been working with agents and then watching them go through the process, and I see the results that people are getting, and it's crazy, it's nuts. And so it's been really good. It's been really good. The problem is, like, if I let the cat out of the bag, like I'm doing right now, like I can't do it for 10,000 people. I can do it for
Sure.
a smaller group of people. But it's been fantastic to see. I had a call today with an agent that's in my front line, good dude, solid dude, recruited a little bit, probably got 25 or 30 people, has the potential to do much more. And he went through the process on his own, unbeknownst to me, went through the process as an agent. And I got on a call with him, and he's like, bro, what in the hell? And this is the when you got people like Miranda, Holly, Kiani, I've got Harley working on the agent attraction stuff. I mean, the Braden building ads, like these are world-class human beings at what they do. And I can't do the stuff I try to do without people like that. Okay. So like, I can have great ideas, but man, I got to have that core group of people around me, or I can't wave the magic wand and make things happen. And so we've been leveraging that to help agents with growing their business. And I think technology and AI has helped us a lot with just making things a lot more easier to execute, where this would have probably taken more human beings to do. Now it takes less. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating, the change that I've seen in the quality of agents we're recruiting, the quality of people that are coming over, the number of three-way calls I'm doing is blowing my mind. And so I'm super fucking excited right now, because what we're doing is attracting a lot better quality people, and we're actually helping them. And that's the key to this whole agent attraction thing is that's not very duplicatable, right? So like I call it being unfuckwithable. I like having an unfuckwithable offer, which means if you want to compete with what we're doing over here, then, go find you these individuals. That's the hardest part, by the way. And then, go ahead and throw 50,000 a month at it and see if you can figure out how to make it work. That's a whole nother story. So, to be able to do what it is that we're doing, it's really, really cool. And it's attracting the right kind of people that we've always had that kind of, unspoken mantra of like, man, we don't make winners. We make winners win bigger and faster. Mm-hmm. I've seen that this is bringing the smarter people to us that say, hey man, I get it. Let's go get it. And yeah, man, I think we're with what I know is coming and the announcement EXP is about to make, we're about to cripple everybody. It's literally checkmate. It's checkmate. Like they don't even know what's coming. And I'm like, I literally wake up at night going, are they really going to do this? Because if they do this, we're going to kill everybody. Like it's going to be a landslide. Crazy if they do what they're about to announce. They are, and it's going to. And I check in with Leo and Glenn. I'm like, y'all still doing this? Y'all ain't going to try to pull the rug on us now. Like if you do this, y'all know what's going to happen. We're going to go to 500,000 agents. It's happening. So it's not even been announced, but when it does, I'm just telling y'all, watch out, because it is about to be on like Donkey Kong, the kind of growth we had in the past. And I don't get out and say this stuff much, right? Like I'm not, I ain't trying to get out there. I'm not the hype guy. Okay. I'm the guy that's like, well, we'll see, okay. I've said this before and had an egg on my face. Nope. I'm telling you, what's coming is going to change the whole game for us. It's checkmate. Our competition is going to crumble. They're going to die when they see it. They're just literally going to be looking and going, what the hell do we do now? But anyway, I'm freaking fired up, man. I'm fired
I can tell. Yeah, absolutely. No,
yeah,
so
good stuff, man.
I guess kind of, getting back down to, what's changing behavior. Are we starting to see a lot of the agents that were hanging on to the legacy models, the legacy brands, starting to realize that, hey,
yeah.
hey, we know the future of real estate. We have to be plugged into one of these platforms is the way to go.
Yeah,
We've got to move away from the
it's
legacy.
almost what is it as the book, the Crossing the Chasm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's we're not quite to the laggards yet, but we're getting there, and that's where the most people are. And what I hear on the phone when I talk to people, and this is nothing about EXP. They watch a webinar that says, leverage my $50,000 a month marketing and implementation team to double your business in 12 months. So that's a different message. It attracts a different person with a different problem. It's the busier agent that it's like, man, I know I can do more business. I just don't know how to implement all this stuff. And that's most of your best people, or not the best. I was never the best at that stuff. I was good. Get me face to face with people, I'm good. And so that's why partner worked, right? And so the thing that I keep hearing, number one, everybody struggled for a long enough period of time now where there's like something's got to change. There's that feeling in the marketplace, and it seems to me like most people, again, we're not talking about EXP. They may or may not have put it together that I'm with EXP at this point, and they're like, if I was going to go anywhere, I would probably go to EXP. Well, why is that? And I think it's because people have been pawing at them, literally, not in a good way in a lot of cases. Like, everybody's trying to recruit you to EXP, and they have been for years.
Sure.
And you're like, no. And you're like, well, maybe there's something over here that I should, be paying attention to. So they're in the back of their mind, they're kind of open to it, more open to it than they have been. And I think that's largely because everybody's been telling them, for years that this is the place to be. And they're clearly not getting to their goals where they're at. And so I think that's a little bit of the surface level, how people are feeling, if you've been through the last 2 years, and if you didn't go through 07, 08, or even if you did, you're like, man, there's got to be a better way, right? You got to, at some point you wake up and be like, this ain't working. I've got to figure something out. And so I feel like people are way more open-minded than they have been in the past. And they're thinking just maybe there is something better. And so that little gate of the mind being more open, when things are good, there's no you just don't wake up and think, how is changing the company I'm at going to change my business? Because it generally doesn't change anything. Right. And so I think that's kind of the temperature, if I was to say, of all these calls, that I'm getting so far this year and towards the end of last year, that's been the temperature.
So they're more open to it. I think we're starting to see too, some of these, folks that got hung into their legacy brands because they got a paycheck and they had to sign X amount of time frame. Yep. I think is starting to expire. So starting to see a little bit of that. I think everybody's really open to it. They're like, okay, I finally get it. I finally have, at a point to where I know we got to make a change.
Yeah, the golden handcuffs are coming off, and those conversations are happening. You're spot on.
So I think
yesterday, just like that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that's happening. And as far as, making the move, I mean, Coke needs Pepsi. And so no matter what happens with checkmate on the other competitors out there, somebody will kind of navigate a little bit.
Sure.
But to me that, even in some capacity, having that type of competition is healthy. And I just base it back off of our experience. I base it off of our experience for sure. Right. Like, if we were number one in our market and it was easy, we probably wouldn't be here today.
100%. No, I agree. I would say this as well. The unique thing, and I made a long post about this the other day, and given enough time, I can apparently write pretty good copy. But what I see happening, I'm watching EXP corporate and our fucking badass CEO and our brilliant founder, and we're throwing them things like, hey y'all, we got some new competitors out here. Like we're on the front lines out here, fighting. And we're like, send a message back to the top. We got a top over here, like and then they go into the lab and they're like, okay, we can let's not it's not let's not shoot first. Let's think, and then let's come up with some and they come up with some ideas, and then they're like, how about this? And then they come give you this huge like dynamite to just destroy the competition. And I'm like, we're really kind of hard to mess with because we're in a position where we can, if you do something really good, we can just duplicate it. So like, oh yeah, well, what do you think about this? We could do that too. We can do that. Y'all can say this. Oh yeah, we can say that too. Like, so there's not there like our competition. And so like, you wonder how Amazon becomes Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. Like there, who else do you shop on besides Amazon? Well, there's only Amazon. So there is the potential to be this the category killer. And I was of the mindset of exactly what you were just saying, John, is like, well, we're always going to have, there's a number one, there's always a number two. It might not be that way. It might actually be there's only one. And it's starting to, the moves we're starting to make are pushing me more into thinking we're going to destroy these companies. They may not be able to survive the amount of attrition that they're going to have to go through on as little cash as they're going to have to be able to fix problems and keep the culture going while people, when you lose your best person, when you lose a Spring Benson, you make no mistake about it. The sky is falling at Real right now. They are in turmoil, man. We had to, when we lost one person in this company that's an alpha, which is a goofy term for somebody who's just attracted a leader that's attracted a lot of people. And you want to talk about how it disrupted our culture? I mean, behind the scenes, if people knew how much that disrupted our culture for a good quarter and got us unfocused on what we should have been focused on, it was a blow. It was a meaningful, oh God dang, like now we got to repair everything and get back in. Where's our momentum? It took a while for us to get past it. When you're not able to fix problems quickly like this, and there's no solution in sight, the banter that starts to happen and the dissension that starts to happen within an organization it ripples through everybody. And so we went through that. We learned a lot through it. It was great. And that's the benefit of being, in the number one spot and then getting kicked. You get kicked in the teeth a couple of times and you're like, okay, well, we can be better too. So then you come back and now you're more prepared. And so we're just in a really unique position to make really good decisions that are better for the agents in this company. And we're the only company actually that is going to make the better decision for the agent. Because why? Because we're not beholden to the investor. Or we didn't have to raise money. I still think they should do a damn movie on Glenn Sanford bootstrapping this unicorn. It's unbelievable. But that is a very unique place to be. And what I keep seeing happen in this company is that there's decisions that are being made that are very strategic, that are literally giving us the keys to the kingdom to go. And again, it's not about destroying competition. It's not about that, but it's better. It's just clearly going to be better, and the opportunity is going to be bigger. And if you don't see it, you're just not paying attention. And so, yeah, man, we're in a unique place right now. And I was wondering, like, man, did we hit our spot? Are we here? Is this, are we just going to have moderate growth from here on out? And that's what we can expect. But as a company, I'm watching us iterate on our value proposition and implement things that are like this fast cap program.
Yeah.
Dude, it's dumb.
I think every, as an agent, if you have a team at EXP, because that's one of the hardest things, right? Is that ramping period to get traction, to get momentum. I mean, there's a couple different ways that actually kind of work. But if you have this fast track program, you have a program that that actually kind of plug into. So that's one of the things that's a benefit for some of our larger companies that have partnered with Place is their first 90 days. So, it's an example with like what Matt and DJ are doing. I'm like, keep your hands out, man. Push them in. And if they can get through that on their own, that's kind of the dating and let me prove myself period. And if they can get through that, then let's go. And I think that's just great, even with fast track. I mean, because that was the biggest challenge. Dude, it's really hard.
I say this all the time. Now, it's like when you got your real estate license, they should have gave you a certificate that says figure it out, because that's basically all you get. I don't care what brokerage you join. That's, and I experienced it with my dad. It was like, okay, where I got my license, Dad. Now what? They're like, okay, son, figure it out.
Go talk to people.
I feel like that's what it was. And so, and everybody I talk to, they're like, they laugh when I say, especially if you've gotten far enough that you figured it out on your own, but you know that you figured it out. Like nobody gave you the blueprint and said, here, start here. And so, that's what it feels like when you get into real estate. Now, why no brokerage has invested in, helping you figure it out, I'll never understand that. But it isn't. And so, like, one of the agents that I brought on recently, this is a crazy story, John. So this guy, and I hope he's watching. He's great. His name's Juan Carlos. Me and Ryan Finch has sold 1,500 homes. I used to sell 500 or whatever it is. And we're in this Uber. He picks us up in the Uber. He's taking us to a Mavs game. And he starts talking like, just some Uber drivers just like to talk. This one is one of those. And so he's like, I'm getting into real estate and I got my license and yada. And so, Ryan couldn't hold it anymore because, it could have been a really good conversation for him, or, he could have learned some stuff, or we could have just let him keep talking. And so he's like, you're in the car with, and, and he's like, we could probably help you, and Ryan's not an EXP, but, he's just like, dude, this is a laydown. Like, go ahead and get him. And I was like, so we talked and, and he had a little bit of confidence in his plan. Right. And so, like, a lot of why you stay with it or you choose a broker is like, you have some confidence that, that you got a plan and that somebody's going to help you with it.
Yeah. Ideally, can help you achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Right. So he goes on to tell me he has interviewed 9 different brokers that he's talked to. And by the end of the trip, I'm like, I'm not trying to, convince him that he didn't interview the right one, but he didn't clearly interview the right person.
Right. So he had 9. Well, he just had the 10th one in the car.
Right. So he had 9 really, and you got to think of the thought that went into and how he's evaluating who he's going to choose. And so he probably picked the best promiser out of all of them. Right. Mm-hmm. And so now he's like, I invited him to the event that was here in Frisco, and it was a Cardone event. He was like, dude, thank you so much. I was like, dude, no worries. You're like, you decide whatever you want to decide. And just, I explained to him, here's the process when you come on board with us, and here's what we do. Boom, boom, boom. Laid it all out for him. And I wasn't trying to make this like any longer of a presentation than it needed to be. So like, I wasn't trying to, convince him of anything. I said, just do this. I said, if he's like, man, I already committed. I feel loyalty. I'm a loyal person. And I feel like, now I got mixed, now I can't sleep. He's like, he's all tore up about it. And I said, listen, just go to the broker and be like, what's your plan from day 1 to day 90? And just, if she's got a plan or a way to help you get to your goal. And I already had like, I'm just trying to figure out where you're at, what you got to do to stop having to drive this Uber. Like, I know that's what you're wanting. So let's, we just need to get you into deal flow fast. Here's how I would do it. And, we think, I think I could get you there in 60 days. And so, and so he goes back and he's like, he's just being genuine and honest. Like, I feel loyalty to you. I want, I want to be here, and, I'm going to give you a shot. He leaves my house and he's like, I'm going to give her a shot. That's what he says. He goes and he asks her, he tells her that, tells this broker he's been, he talked to someone else, and, just being honest, right? Just letting her know, hey, I just talked to someone else, and, then he asked the question, well, what is your plan for me? She got so pissed off, she fired him on the spot.
Thank you.
Right. So
Thank
like,
you.
okay, so you didn't have a plan. All right. It was very clear at this point, like she didn't try to compete. She knew that she had been filling them full of bullshit, and that she was going to have to live up to that bullshit story pretty soon. And that, that there was no reason for her to just, let the suffering happen, any prolong what was going to happen. And so he was blown away by that. I was not so shocked by it, but, so he comes on board, and, he's kind of, he's very meticulous, and he kind of takes a little bit of time. He wants to gather all the information before he makes a move. And I was like, just get on the call with Braden and let's get your ads going. We'll figure all the rest of that shit out when you have some people to talk to. Cause he's a smart guy. I know he's going to be fine, but he overthinks things. And so he gets on his 3-day call, 3 days after he's got his ads up and running, got a listing and a buyer. And so, obviously he's ecstatic, and he hadn't even followed up with all the leads yet. And so I'm like, that is the story I want people to realize. Like, you can get into real estate, and if you have the right people around you and you have people helping you implement all the shit you don't have to learn to be able to be successful, but you just have a little bit of ambition and a little bit of people skills, this is not a difficult business. And that's the way it should be when people get in real estate. And it's just not what people experience. No company does that. Now on the back end, like, I'm trying to create this because I feel like it's my responsibility. And I've got Leo, our CEO, saying it's not y'all's responsibility. That's the company's responsibility. And so they're building Fast Track for that very purpose of, you have a plan the day one you get into real estate. And no other company has that. No other company that's our competition will have that either, because they can't afford to do it, because it's not easy to create something that's going to help an agent specifically get into production. It does take time, effort, and energy and resources. And so, obviously we have resources because of all the revenue share that we can deploy in that direction. And I want to use that as a way to attract even more agents. And so that's why I'm pushing my chips all in on what we're doing. But that's vastly different than what most people experience. You go into your broker, what do you got? You got nothing. You got competition. The people in your office are the people, they're never going to tell you their best ideas.
They're not trying to collaborate with you. They're looking out for themselves.
They're going to never tell you their best ideas.
But that's the way, because you got to look to and understand the model completely, and going to default back to, that's why I was asking kind of the questions and really looking at, human behavior and really understanding, the sequence of events that happen. So all of you guys listening in, right? And this will help you in whatever you're trying to accomplish. And you look at, the behavior is just kind of a byproduct, but the environment, the circumstance, the senses, what they're seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, that drives their thoughts in the way they're thinking and how they're thinking about things. And you're not going to get them to just immediately change the way they think in that, because you got to tap into the emotions of how they're feeling. And that's where you kind of get it. And the feelings drive the behavior. But if you understand that sequence, then you got to get back to, well, what will change it all? And that's getting them in the right environment. That's having the conversations. That's why I love, when I hear about leadership, listening to feedback on the ground. The best example of that, and this is just a great lesson for all of you guys listening in, even if your aspiration is to kind of step out of production, you still got to stay grounded to what's happening in the trenches. The best example I've ever seen to do that and execute it on it in real time is Dwayne Legate. Biggest damn thought I've ever heard of in my life from one of the lead gen platforms and portals. But the thing that separated him, the lesson, is that he got to the ground. He got into the trenches. He listened, and he changed.
Yep.
That's when what you were mentioning about Leo and
100%. You're nailing it.
The same thing. They're doing the same thing. They're listening to what's happening on the ground, not what they think, but what is the real feedback. And this is so important as leaders of your organizations and your companies. You have to have feedback loops if you're not able to get on the front line. That's what makes Elon why Elon's Elon, is he gets on the ground and then he fixes problems fast. And that's what leadership's doing here. Yeah. And I think that's just a great example.
Spot on, John.
And to be able to study at a high level, us, we're students of greatness, right? Like, I was never a real Tom Brady fan, but you couldn't help but just be like, what is it? Right. I can't stand Patrick Mahomes, but what is it about them? I still have that, the him and Baker going head to head days, but like, what makes them win at the highest levels? Like what's Andy Reid doing? What's that culture? What is leadership doing to thrive at high levels? And without a doubt, there will be a story on Glenn, because, being able to go down this path, solving the problems, going to behavior, back to my point of compensation drives behavior. Yep. And you wonder why there's, silos and inner competition at these companies and these brokerages, is because of compensation. There's no incentive for me to want to help you, to accelerate and growth in your business, unless I'm just like a selfless leader, which is a small percentage of human beings out there. But yeah, you got to look at the compensation.
We said this all along about our model, and I've told the story. I won't tell it again. Warren Buffett, when he's talking about, him, I was at the shareholder thing, and him and Charlie Munger down there eating C's chocolates and drinking Coca-Cola at 90 something years old. It's laughable. It was so funny to watch, but how they distill it. Everything they look at, the first thing they look at is if there's a problem in any company, they look at misalignment of compensation.
Yep.
And I've seen it a billion times in everything we do, like from ISAs and every aspect of real estate to NAEA to every other thing I look at. When I see something that's not working, I'm like, well, I wonder what the compensation is there, right? Like, and how do and that's how and so it taught me to think that way. But when you get a group of really high performing individuals that you don't have to put on the payroll, and you align their compensation to solving problems for agents, what do you get? You get a vast array of people that are at all times waking up thinking about how to solve that problem with you, right? And so you take that and you couple it with the data, which Glenn and Leo look at the data. That's why they do that's why this seems like a small thing. People don't understand the value in it. There's net promoter scoring everything. Okay. They know when people are happy, they know when they're not happy, and they're getting that feedback from the ground, and they're looking at, here's all our support tickets, and here's the problems we need to solve. And if we solve these problems for all these agents, then, that's how we get to the next level. And hearing from the ground from all of us wanting to solve a problem, and then getting the data supporting, that's the real problem. Because if you don't have the data, you could have a bunch of entrepreneurs that are giving you some bullshit that's not really the problem.
Sure.
Right. And that's a fair statement, because our alignment and compensation is going to drive us to want what we want fixed, right? Versus maybe being agent centric in some cases. And so I see all this happening. I'm like, wow, this is fucking the best I've ever seen it done. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is how it should be. In every company, it should be designed in a way that everyone is in alignment financially to solving the right problem. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. And fortunately,
I think the beautiful thing that you said there too, just kind of made me think, is that you don't change everything that you hear, right? You don't change immediately all the feedback. You look for patterns. And, if somebody says you're terrible once, okay. They say it twice, okay. But if you hear it 27 times over a period of time, I might need to change and really look at something, right? You're really looking at that pattern, and being able to, not knee-jerk reaction and react to whatever's happening. And I think the key thing here from a growth perspective, because most people don't understand, is that EXP was still recruiting and bringing in a lot of agents, but the churn level, and this is where you run into companies that grow, and you hit scale, you hit an issue with churn. And it's just like you said, right? Like a lot of people are making a lot of promises, but the back door is open because they can't keep the promise. They can't deliver on the promise. And so when you start to solve that, and you start to solve, the accurate promise being made to align to what the agents are looking for your help as a platform, as a company, to help me solve, and you can deliver on that, I ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And I think
you're spot on, John. Let me give you an example to illustrate this. Okay. So, as competition, this is it's such a fascinating story. Competition, now there's LPT. Now LPT's coming for us. They're calling all of our agents. The sky's falling over at EXP. Here we go. So I'm listening to all these chats, and everybody's like, the sky's falling. I'm like, okay, we got a real threat here. Let's talk about it. Okay. And if you asked all of us, okay, me being one of us, I didn't say this, and I know better than this, but the feedback that was coming from fear was, they've got this shiny box they give you when you join EXP, or you can buy, and it's it's gonna, and agents love it. Agents love it. I'm like, yeah, we have CHSA, CHBA, and our shit's better than their shit anyway. And so that's not it. Like, that's not the reason people are joining. Okay. It's not the problem. But what did EXP do? EXP goes out, creates a better one, a better version of that, does it for cheaper. And we sold a total of 84 of them since then. It's the wrong problem. And so, that is what when there's dissension in a company, and you get all, the sky's falling, and there's no rational thought, everybody's just freaking out. You start solving in directions that aren't the real problem. And so we did, but even still, to EXP's credit, they listened and they said, okay, you think this is the problem? Fine. Here. Now that we know that's not the problem, 3 months later, that's not the fucking problem. Now can we go on and solve the real problem? Right. And so, it's being nimble and being able to move and listen, but also understanding like you got to really drill down and figure out what the real reason people might be leaving are, or the real reason they aren't staying here.
I can tell you a couple, and this is super important for everybody listening in. And we've talked about this over and over and over again. And it's the whole, there are no business problems, that it can all be traced back to a leadership problem. And one thing that AI is not going to fix, they ain't going to fix leadership. And so I think you look at from a skills, because leadership is a skill. And we talk about, head of companies. You're a real estate agent, you're head of your life, you're head of your company. Leadership is one of the handful of critical skills that you constantly have to develop. The people that I've seen that actually are like I'm really listening to why they would leave. Almost it's always leadership, and it's not EXP leadership. It's the direct alignment of who they came over to, that they bought into, that they had. I need you to lead me. I'm my hands up, like pull me in the boat. They leave because they're reaching, but nobody's grabbing them. Nobody's trying to help them. That's the one thing that I see.
87% of I don't know if I can say this, actually. This is probably information I can't share. So
a high statistic.
A large percentage of our support tickets come from agents who feel like they're not supported by their upline.
Yep.
Imagine if EXP could solve that problem. And then imagine that they just did.
Yeah.
That's what's coming. It's the most game-changing, nobody loses, everybody wins solution I've heard. And I spent 3 days, because my first instinct is to poke holes in something. Like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work because and then I'm like, okay, all right, well, it would work in that scenario. It would actually be way better than went through like 100 scenarios, and I'm like, now, and this is just like when I first saw the EXP model, and I was like, that can't be true. That can't be true. Okay, but if it's true, then this is the best thing I've ever seen. Right? It took me a while to get to that place, but like I had to go, okay, well, what happens if this? What if they change the model? What if all these things? And it's like, okay, well, do I trust the leader? Do I believe in the leader? And are the core values aligned? Because if everything is better for the agent, this is how we win. And that has to be the guiding principle for every decision. And if we always think that way, we're always going to win. And I've never seen this company. I've never seen Glenn. I've never seen our leadership in this company make a decision that wasn't what's best for the agent first, period.
Yeah. And
that is what gives me the most calm of anything, is like, it's always going to be what's best for the agent. And that's why we're where we're at. But that's how we get to the next level, is by solving that problem that you just described. And that was the problem that was handed to us. And that, again, we have less attrition than any company in the country, but in the industry, but it's still a problem. It always has, it always will be. It'll never be completely solved. So you have to look at what could we be doing differently. And that's a
great set of questions for anybody listening in that is looking to make a move. That is, from a decision standpoint. I know we'll have people that are not at EXP that'll hear this conversation. I think that's some great questioning to think about. Is, do you understand the vision and the direction of whatever company that you're talking to? What are their core values? And give me examples of how they've made decisions in alignment to those values. And you and I were super privy back in 2017 before we came over. And it's one of those, right out of, Italian mob movie in the back room around the table. Like literally just how I remember it, because I was just super highly aware, just kind of looking around the table and in that moment. You and I sitting directly across from Glenn and Jason, and just being able to hear the vision of the organization. And that was in September timeframe of 2017. And I remember texting you in February or March of 18 when we were in Orlando for shareholders at the time, when they were still doing two separate events. And I was like, this mofo is executing exactly to what he just told us in that back room 6 months ago, 7 months ago. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those moments. And I think listening in, guys, you've got to know the vision and direction of the organization that you're aligning with and what are their values, and show me proof of how you've made decisions. And the one value that I always come back to with EXP, and it's maybe not the most important value. You could argue everything else,
Right.
but the core value of sustainability. And I look at every decision Glenn and leadership and Leo have made. They do not make a decision unless it's going to be sustainable. You talked about we make decisions for the agent. They make decisions to make sure it's sustainable. And hey, like, yeah, whatever, that ain't going to work, whatever. But when you see it time and time and time and time again, I don't question the decisions that they make anymore, because I know they're running it through the filters, and I know it's going to be sustainable and what's best for the agents moving into the future.
Yeah. And having gone through that, and being invited to be in the room to address issues that were critical to sustainability of the company, when it's not our company, so it's not, he doesn't have to even entertain our thoughts.
Not at all.
But he always did. And that gave me, when we were there in the very beginning, it was, I love the idea. I loved the heartbeat of the vision. And I had to come to grips with, did I believe they could execute? And that was going to be the to be determined of this was going to be, do I believe they can execute what they're trying to do here? And I did. I came to that. I came to the conclusion I believed that they could. And I've watched us replace key people and key roles swiftly when needed as we grew, and we went through some of the challenges that none of these other competitors even got to this stage yet. And when the model is getting challenged, how you have to make a decision, and it has to be the right one, and how every time it's been boom, 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 boom. Like, it's just been fascinating and to see. And to experience. And do I believe that someone else is going to be able to do that? I don't think, not with us as your competitor. Like, yeah, okay, y'all, good luck over there. We already had to go through all that. You can hope it's going to turn out good for you, but there's going to be some of y'all that don't make it. So, where you want to plant your flag is going to be important 5 years, 10 years from now. And so, that is where, that understanding that dynamic of what all had to happen for us to get here, and what they're going to have, the gauntlet they're about to go through. It gives me a lot of confidence that, we're not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. And I think you start to see the downhill slide, right? It's how the mighty fall. And if you see any of that hubris or start to creep in, that would be the only thing. And we've seen it, right? I mean, you see it with Gary, you see it, the hubris there. And that's just the writing on the wall, right? It's that they're just, when you see any leadership with that and those character traits, it's a crack in the armor, and it's just a matter of time unless that gets corrected. And I just don't see that within the leadership dynamic and the leadership makeup right now. But to me, that would be the only thing. Obviously regulations, other changes and things that we didn't even get into today that I wanted to pick your brain on, which is, changing in the housing market, affordability, insurance, kind of what's happening. But no, this was a fascinating, perspective, and, really diving deep around, how to think about situations, think about the direction, knowing where you're at, right? And where you want to go. And do you believe that, the foundation and the leadership and the business model can support and help you achieve your dreams, right? That's the whole vision component, right? Like, if you don't believe that you can accomplish your dreams within the vision, then you won't be here. But I think with the grand vision of EXP, that there's so many just tremendous individuals and entrepreneurs and drivers that want to take over the world, believe that they can take over the world a part of this vision.
Right.
And it's really cool to see.
Yeah. I'll give you a short synopsis on the housing and affordability. There is no such thing as housing affordability right now. The opportunity the next couple of years is going to be in opportunity zones. It's going to be in the low end of the price point is probably going to see the most appreciation, driving the prices up. In the lower, we'll see more appreciation from, homes in the, under 300 than we will above 300. It's going to become less affordable. And you can't, until they drive the cost down, and, to be determined how effective Trump is at being able to get prices down. You can't afford to build. You just can't afford to build a new house and make it affordable. So, to be determined, I think, as far as that goes. But I think the opportunity right now, in the housing industry is around the, what would be considered affordable is going to see more opportunity, and opportunity zones. There's going to be a lot in those arenas. But yeah, to be determined. You can only play in the sandbox that you have to play in. And, I still think, we'll see an increase in sales this year. I don't think we're going to see dramatically lower rates. If we do, we'll see more sales this year. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. The one thing that it always scared me the most in this industry has been, the potential replacing of the agent somehow. And, we've seen hundreds of millions of dollars thrown at all these different companies that try to disrupt the industry by replacing the agent. And we saw that not work. And so, the agent is the conduit to the transaction. We're not going anywhere as agents. Now it's just a matter of, are you aligned with the right people to help you, to build a real business. I feel like, the options are limited, and the number one choice is very clear.
100%, man. And I'll leave us with this. I really believe no matter what happens, it'll always come down to a decision of trust. And the definition that I stand on with trust is just authenticity times time. Vulnerability, transparency, authenticity times time is what builds trust. Trust wins. Mm-hmm. And I just hear from a lot of agents, they're like, man, I'm just not, I just don't have any brand recognition. It's just how much time have you put in being authentic and genuine and add value, right? You just haven't built enough trust yet. And I think the agents that focus on that component and building real, genuine, authentic trust will win no matter what happens.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Cuz, I appreciate you. Fantastic conversation as always. Guys, man, stay plugged in, reach out. That's what we're here for. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. See you.
See you.